I don't care if the doctor wants to put me on a statin because it'll help me live longer. I want to live with my brain intact.
Laurel, how did you find carnivore?
Well, I stumbled over it. Um, I came to YouTube to find out if there was anything that I could do to mitigate the effect of insulin on my body. My best friend had died of dementia, and she had had diabetes and other medical issues, but it was the dementia that took her in the end. And one of the things that concerned me was that I really felt that it was the drugs that she was taking that was causing the problem. And one of the things she was having to take was insulin. She was insulin dependent, and she did not monitor herself very well. So she ended up in a nursing home and then in a care home facility and then in hospice. And I felt so bad because we were basically Twinkies. We were about the same age and the same grade in school. We sang in the choir together. She listened to me and she belted out whatever she heard me belt out. And so we had basically walked side by side through most of our adulthood. And it was a friendship that had lasted more than 50 years. And so after she died, and I began to have this nagging suspicion that it was the drugs. I started to do research because I didn't want to end up in the same boat. I went to YouTube and I started to look for diabetes insulin. And I stumbled across a couple of influencers. They weren't physicians, they were actually pastors. And he was talking about beating diabetes. The channel is called Beat Diabetes. And I listened to him. And then I moved on to Dr. Ekberg, listened to him. It started making all sorts of sense. Of course, none of it was carnivore. It was more like low carb, low vegetable, stay away from the sugars and the processed foods. I thought, well, I can do that. And so I just made a choice after I realized that I would cut out the processed food and I would cut out the sugars. And so I stopped bread cold in its tracks and the snack foods and the processed foods. And it was a bit of a challenge from my daughter because she was doing most of the cooking, and it was basically some meat and some vegetables that were, sauteed or boiled. And then I stumbled into Dr. Berry, and I stumbled over Dr. Boz and listened to the way add fat and then the ketosis and the ketogenic diet. And son of a gun, I had my first diet when I was 15 because I was trying to fit into a dress for a high school musical. And I was Marilyn Monroe. And I did it, and it really impressed the seamstress's son. But that was just a shadow, and then the weight began to come back and come back. I've always been healthy. My older brother was frail and sickly as a child, and my mother wanted a strong, healthy third child, and so she named me Laurel for the tree, and she wanted to make sure I was strong and sturdy. Well, I was. And then I got sturdier and sturdier and sturdier. So she did not like the fact that I was a grown woman at the age of 11. That was difficult for her because she was 5'2" and that big around. And she dieted as well because she wanted to stay that big around all the time. So I realized thinking back that the diet that I had been given when I was 15, and it was given to me by my older sister who also had a weight problem. It was basically low carb, high protein, but there was no fat involved at all. It was metabolic, and it was only for 2 weeks. And I had still dropped close to 10 pounds by the end of that 2 weeks, fit in the dress, and that was my goal. And then I took off again. Uh, anyway, listening to Ken Berry and some of the people he talked about and Sean Baker, they were all talking about carnivore, and BB&E, and the BB&E sounded really good because I love bacon and I love butter and I love eggs, and I could learn to love beef a whole lot better than I did because I was not a large red meat eater. Red meat, you come up in this country, my age, and red meat is a culprit. It's a villain. And so I didn't eat a lot of red meat, but uh, I had permission to eat red meat. And so I started eating red meat. Yeah. And the weight began to come off. But even more important, my glucose began to come down. My A1C at my first checkup after I started this diet, which was in about 3 months, had returned to normal. And people had been telling me on YouTube, you can reverse your diabetes. You can get a normal A1C level. I didn't believe it, but it happened to me. And what was really surprising to me is along the way, I stopped snoring. Along the way, I stopped hurting in my joints and my muscles. I live in a 2-story house and my bedroom is on the second floor. And I started climbing the stairs. Now, when I'd moved in over a year ago, I had to climb the stairs, take one step and pull the other foot up, take one step and pull the other foot up, because I was that unsteady, holding on to the banister. And my daughter had talked to a contractor about putting in a second banister on the other side of the stairwell so that I could walk up and hold myself on both sides, because I was having to hike myself up with a banister. And within weeks, I was going up one foot after the other. It was just amazing, and there was no pain. I had been told in 2016, that I was going to need a knee replacement. And they gave me shots in both my knees, even though one knee wasn't bothering me at all. They said, well, you might as well because, both knees are affected. Really? I didn't know that. Only one was hurting. And so when I went back in at the 6 weeks follow-up, they said, are you back in for another shot? I said, no, my knee's not hurting. So I don't want another shot. And I went through rehab with a physical therapist. And other than having a nagging discomfort when I would exert myself and having to be careful going up and downstairs, I just figured, okay, at one point I will have knee surgery, but not now. And I will deal with this pain. I was taking NSAIDs. I was taking 1,600 milligrams a day. And first of this year, my doctor said, you have to stop taking the NSAIDs. It's going to damage you. So I did, and I dealt with the issue of the pain. And then the the diet that I was on, which was low carb, high protein, high fat, the pain, there was no pain to deal with, no reason to take the NSAIDs. So those are the big gains for me. I mean, I've lost weight. I'm 40 plus pounds down. I'm no longer morbidly obese. But the gains that aren't on the scale are what really did it for me. And that's what I'm most happy about. And I'm leaning into the meat. I don't know that I will ever be purely carnivore, although I relish the idea of eating meat, but I also have to appease my daughter who cooks for me and wants to make sure that I maintain a level of health, and so I get some, squash in, and I get some zucchini in. Uh, I've had I've had two sweet potatoes since I started this diet or this way of eating. No potatoes, no potatoes. I have had two servings of rice. Um, I did find a bamboo fiber bread that I lean on if I want a bacon, tomato, and onion sandwich, or if I want grilled cheese. I've I started doing this for the blood sugar control, and I have that in spades. Uh, what I what I excuse me, what I would like to do is continue keeping my blood sugar under control, lose some more weight. I have a spreadsheet for tracking my weight loss. I started it back in 2013 because I went through another weight loss challenge back in 2013 after my brother and my sister died, and it wasn't because of them that I did it. It was because of a challenge at work, and I had lost a total of 65 pounds. So on this spreadsheet that I've got, I have milestones listed out beside my anticipated weights, and I have several milestones coming up. I have a milestone, haven't seen this weight since 2013, haven't seen this weight since 1987, things like that.
Congratulations
Thank you.
first. Do you feel like you've kind of found the key now? Do you think this is something you've been searching all your life for a solution and you finally found the key?
I have found the key. I have found the door. I have found the house. I'm in the right neighborhood. Yes, absolutely. I know that if I stick with it and I'm consistent and I am not uh, religiously attached to this way of eating, I do have times when I eat off plan, and it's planned because I know I'm going out with friends and I don't want to put them through I put them through the hell, which is that's what it is. It's like being a vegan opposite when you go out to dinner with people who do not understand or embrace the fact that you are trying to do it right. So I've blunted that now. So when I go out with friends, I eat mostly what they eat. I avoid some of the things that they eat and don't make a deal of it. And then I have parties. I'm missing I'm missing the party we're going to have Saturday night because of my leg. Teresa doesn't want me sitting around like a princess, and she's sure that I will not stay off my feet if they come over. So we have to postpone that party. But when people come over, I'm going to entertain. When I go to people's houses, I'm going to enjoy what they offer. And then the next meal, I'm right back on track.
What happened with your leg? We kind of talked about it off camera, but would you mind sharing? You said you had your foot up at the moment.
Oh, yeah. I have probably tendonitis or plantar fasciitis, uh, pain in my foot when I walk. It started Sunday and it's now Wednesday. And it's painful when I walk. So the doctor wanted to put me on cortisone and NSAIDs, and I said, no, I don't think so. I'd rather use a conservative approach, and so I'm icing it and staying off of it for the most part. But I'm still coming up and down the stairs. Um, I'm grinning through the pain, and pain it is, but I'm grinning through it. I've had
Nice.
worse. I've had worse.
Just going on to the timeline, um, when did you kind of when was it that you started eating this way, and when did you start seeing the improvements in, like, the knee pain and that kind of thing?
Well, my friend died March the 18th. By mid April, I was eating right. I didn't know what the proper human diet consisted of, but I was following the regimen that Beat Diabetes Channel put me onto and Ekberg put me onto. And within, I don't know, less than a week, I had stopped snoring. And within less than 6 weeks, I could go up the stairs one step after the other. It was that quick. And I used to have to lean on my daughter to get from the car to the grocery store. I actually leaned on her, used her as a crutch because I wasn't ready to use my cane full time. And I don't do that anymore. And that didn't take but, what, 3 months?
That's awesome,
Yeah.
and it's actually it's so cool to hear that people get results so quickly just by changing the way they eat.
Yeah, I'm an old lady and this worked for me.
For you now, is this kind of this is the way you're gonna eat forever now?
This is the way I'm going to eat consistently forever because this I know is going to ensure that when I die, I'm going to have all my faculties. I may be in a wheelchair or I may be in a bed, but I'm going to be sharp as a tack and I'm going to be as feisty as the day that I told my first husband to leave.
What you mentioned your daughter, and you
Yes,
mentioned that your daughter is preparing meals for you and stuff. How does she feel about the way you're eating?
she's very happy to encourage me to eat properly. She's very happy to see the changes that I've made. Yeah, she's over here nodding.
Nice. Yeah. And you said your friends just kind of they accept it now as well. Like the
It's not a case of acceptance so much as long as I don't have to see it with my own eyes, I'll be okay. I mean, I went to a place called Olive Garden for an early birthday dinner, and I was bragging to various people at the table and showing them my clown pants because my pants were so big that I could pull them out on the sides, look like a clown, telling them about the food plan. But then I proceeded to eat salad after shoving the croutons aside, and I proceeded to eat some pasta with a big sausage. And I left half of the pasta and one of the sausages on the plate and brought it home and promptly put it in the freezer for some other time. And that's one of my go-to phrases. I can have that some other time. So marshmallows, I can have that some other time. uh, chocolate cake. I can have that some other time. Ice cream. Oh my goodness. I used to eat ice cream by the half gallon. I swear, by the half gallon. I would sit at my desk while I was working at home remotely, and I would go through an entire half gallon of ice cream while I was working at home. I don't do that anymore. I don't snack at all. There is no snacking in my life. Um, we keep candy in the house. Don't touch it.
And is that you think just because you're just satiated all the time, so you don't feel the urge like, oh, I've got to eat something.
I don't know if it's satiation or if it is a good habit that I have developed, but I don't feel the need to put stuff in my mouth all the time. But yeah, the food is satiating. Uh, Man, my daughter fixed a rib roast a few weeks ago, and I was so much meat, and I ate as much as I wanted, and it was so good. And then I had leftovers for 2 or 3 days, and I was eating it cold because I wanted it to stay medium rare. And then we had the opportunity to get more rib roasts. And so she got another one today at a really good price. And that's going to be on the menu probably next week. And she's got her brisket in the refrigerator. Oh, she's happy to buy red meat, and I'm happy to pay for it.
Awesome. So, what is a day like for you? Are you eating just whenever you're hungry, or
Oh
are you eating
no,
at set
no,
times?
no. It's a fairly good routine at this point. Um, I will come downstairs about 10 or 11 and have a cup of coffee. I use cream, whereas I used to use a sweetened creamer. I use cream now. I still use artificial sweetener, which is a terrible thing in the carnivore community, but I'm doing what works for me. So I have coffee with cream, heavy whipping cream, and artificial sweetener. And then an hour later, maybe 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock, I will have a big plate of eggs, sometimes some bacon with it. The eggs are cooked with cream and butter. Sometimes I will have a piece of that bamboo fiber toast that has been sauteed in bacon grease. Oh man, that's good. And then for dinner, which is around 6:30, I will have a meat. It could be beef, it could be pork, it is occasionally chicken, even less occasionally fish, and a vegetable. Last night she gave me squash, but it was raw, and I found out that I just didn't want to eat that much of it. So I left a lot behind. But yeah, I had a big piece of ham, and that was dinner, along with I drank hot tea, uh, water, uh, artificially sweetened soda. I'm still drinking soda. It's what works for me.
Well, that's what's important. I mean, you've found what works for you, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that
And
that
and
is
going with the no food between 7 in the evening and 11 in the morning. I stumbled into the intermittent fasting. I didn't know that. I was just sleeping late.
so I'm very interested. I've never heard of bamboo fiber bread. What does
It,
that taste like?
it tastes like bread, surprisingly enough, and it's by a grocery store named Aldi, and it's called keto bread. Now, I do not lean into keto treats or keto foods or keto brands or keto catchwords when I look for stuff to eat. typically it's just very plain. I want this, I want this, I want that. But when Teresa found the keto friendly bread, and we looked at the ingredients, man, that's something you got to do. You can't know what you're going to get unless you look at the ingredient list. And it said zero net carbs because the entire body of the bread is made with bamboo fiber, which is, insoluble. So I do eat that on occasion, not every day.
And the other thing I'm interested in is you use cream when you're making the eggs.
Oh yes, it added a whole different dimension to the scrambled eggs. Um, I love fried eggs, but I need a little bit of variety, so I don't always have fried eggs. Sometimes I have scrambled eggs. And we had been using, Teresa, what had we been using for the scrambled eggs before the cream?
Almond milk.
Teresa had been using almond milk. And so she used cream one time, and it was so good. I mean, you cook it in butter and you use cream to mix it up with. Oh, it's so good. And see,
It's basically unsweetened custard prep.
yeah, you can take what I use and
Okay.
turn it into whipped cream, and that's
Okay.
that's also an Aldi item. We do a lot of our shopping at Aldi. Love Aldi, but anyway, it's so good, and it makes the eggs so creamy and light and fluffy, and just
And filling.
filling. Yeah, I don't have any. I don't have any food sensitivities um, that extend to whole segments of the food world. Um, I have a cast iron stomach and an alimentary canal that can withstand a bomb. So it was not a case of eliminating food groups. It was a case of getting rid of the stuff that I don't need. Hey, no. This is one of them.
And who's this? Is this the older boy you were talking about before?
Oh no, he's upstairs. That one is called Perrin. All of her cats are named after characters from Wheel of Time.
Okay, it's very cute.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
two black ones, two tabby ones, and
A seal point and a calico.
a seal point and a calico.
No, nice. Do they get along? Do they get along well together? I imagine with 6 they fight a little bit.
Oh, they do fight some. Mostly they are cohorts in crime. When I'm downstairs, I can hear them upstairs running up and down the landing, running up and down the hall. Sometimes they're in the third bedroom, and I swear it's like they're up there working out in a gym because they have cat trees up there and shelves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a riot. It's a riot. But the girls don't get along with each other.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they're all spayed, and they all stay indoors because we have hawks in the neighborhood, and we've just never let them out.
So whereabouts are you? What state are you in?
Tennessee, located within 15 miles of the Mississippi River.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
born here as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So same kind of hometown that you grew up in?
Oh, yeah. This is my hometown. I was born here. I spent all but 6 years of my life here. I spent 6 years in Pennsylvania. But yeah, I've been here all my life.
Wow, that's a bit of a contrast, no? Tennessee to Pennsylvania?
Well, my dad was a civil servant, and at one point, the defense depot here in Memphis closed down. And in order to keep a job with the government, he had to move to Pennsylvania to work at the depot up there. And so when he died, we moved back to hometown.
I see. Okay. So going back to keto and carnivore,
Yes.
this is it for you, as you've mentioned, um, and it really feels like, for me, finding this, that I've kind of opened the future for myself. Like, I prior to finding this kind of way of eating, I found that I was kind of thinking, well, there's a time limit. Like, I've maybe got 10 good years or 20 good years or 30 good years left. And then it's going to be, then there's going to be a faster and faster slide downhill. How do you feel about that when you think about your future?
Well, funny you should ask, because 20 years ago, I was ready to go when I was 60. I expected to go before I was 60. I didn't have any inkling that I would live past 60. And even after I lived past 60 and I had a whole new reason to live, I set my sight at 88. I haven't changed my end game to past 88 yet, if I live past 88. And my spreadsheet for retirement has me all the way down to 99. So it could happen. But it's not given me a longer life. And that's not what I'm looking for. I was looking for, and I have a better life. This thing about cholesterol, I don't care that my LDL is higher than the doctor wants it to be. I don't care if my cholesterol is higher than the doctor wants it to be. I don't care if the doctor wants to put me on a statin because it'll help me live longer. I want to live with my brain intact. And I know eating this way, it's going to help me live with my brain intact. Now, all these other benefits, the lack of pain, damn, that's gravy. I didn't believe them when they said that on YouTube. I wasn't prepared to believe that. Oh, that's bullshit. Excuse me. But yeah, it's the way I live that is making me so much happier now. I mean, I've gone through the loss of 3 husbands now. And the last one was in death. So I'm what they call a widow. And I don't intend to get married again, although I still look at the boys. Now, that's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say was I'm very happy being here. I'm not unhappy being here at all. I'm not unhappy being the way I am right now at all. I'm happy being this way. I'll be happy when I lose more weight. I can't imagine being any happier. I mean, I'm sitting here with a sore foot, and I got a grin from ear to ear because this is temporary. I mean, I was expecting the knee to be permanent, I was expecting the infirmity to expand and get worse. And it's not. Damn. It's just wonderful.
That's awesome. That is so good. Laurel, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey with us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.